Welcome back to Trade Talk Wisconsin. We're still here at IBW Local 159 in Madison, and I want to shift gears in an important way. May, when we're recording this, is Mental Health Awareness Month. For people who build this state, that's a moment worth pausing for. The building trades have always been about more than the work. They're about the people doing it, which means making sure members and families are supported in every part of their lives. Construction workers die by suicide at roughly 4 times the national average. More workers die that way each year than from falls, electrocutions, and every other job site fatality combined. The same toughness that makes trade workers so extraordinary, that show up and push through culture, can also sometimes make it hard for someone to say, "I'm not okay, I need help." The Wisconsin Laborers Health Fund is doing something about it. Through the LEAN program, Laborers Escaping Adversity Now, they have hired 3 peer support specialists, not counselors, not clinicians, laborers, people who worked in this industry, who understand it all from the inside, and who are now dedicating their work to making sure members know they're not alone. And here's what I find particularly powerful. Mikey Richards, Rash, and John Bothun are starting this role right now, this month, in Mental Health Awareness Month. Mikey, Matt, and John, welcome, and thank you for taking the time.
Thanks for having us.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Let's start with the basics for anyone listening who's not yet heard about LEAN. Mikey, we'll start with you. Can you tell us what is it? What does a peer support specialist do?
Laborers Escaping Adversity Now is a program that was just initiated in order to help our people and their family members when they're facing mental health issues, substance abuse issues, and other adversities within their path. And our job is to provide support as someone who's been down the same path as those that are struggling with these issues and understands what our people and their family members are going through. So that's where we come into play at.
Let's talk about the 3 of you a little bit. Each of you came into this role from somewhere. Can you give us an idea of your background as a laborer and what made you want to do the work? And why don't we start with John?
Okay, well, what made me want to become a laborer, at the time I was going through drug court in Rock County and just thinking of things, jobs and things that maybe I would like to do. And construction, I always liked the idea of construction, using my hands and being mobile, being around. So my brother-in-law worked at J.P. Cullen. This was in 2017, 2018 when I was in drug court. And I approached him, about working at J.P. Cullen. And at the time he was like, he told me no, because he didn't trust me, because I had been an addict for so long and I had broke so many bridges that he told me no. And so I found a construction place. I actually, it was in Beloit, and I worked there for 4 years, and I proved myself to my brother-in-law that I can keep a job, and that I can maintain my sobriety. So he finally, got me a spot there, and I started in 2022 out at Epic in Verona, and it was a big learning experience out there. That place is huge, but yeah. So I worked out there on nights for a couple of years, and then I finally got to get on to days. So then I worked days out there for about a year, and then I got switched out to University Hospital in Madison. And that's where I met my BA dean, and he had told me about this program that LAUNA was going to start, because I had opened up to him a little bit and told him a little bit about my past, as being an addict, and how much I really enjoyed and how much I really just wanted to help people. And that's why I thought, my purpose on life was, was to help people. And so when he told me about this, he told me, "I think you'd be good for this. I think you should apply for it." So I did, and not really, thinking that I would get the position or whatever. It was a long process, but you know, after my first interview, talking with Tracy, it went really well. I was able to open up to her and talk to her very easy about, you know, the things I had been through in my life, and my struggles with addiction and mental health. Yeah, after I started, you know, getting into the process of applying and all that, it was like a 5-month process, and it was hard. After going through it and getting through that whole process and getting to know these guys and getting to know more about what the program's going to be, I'm really grateful to be able to be here, and I hope we're able to help a lot of people.
And for those listening that may not understand some of the lingo, a BA is a
business agent.
We'll move down to Mikey. Go ahead. Why don't you tell us a little bit about where you came from and what made you want to do this work?
I joined the union because I was, you know, fed up with non-union work and wanted to feel appreciated of, you know, whatever I did at work. And you know, I kept my wife's stepdad at the time. He kept telling me, like, man, give Clark a call. He'll treat you right. He'll treat you good. But I was always scared. You know, we're scared to take that first few steps when, you know, all we're thinking about is 10 miles down the road, every little negativity. So that'll hinder us from taking those first few steps. But I eventually called Clark up, and we got along just great. He actually came to my town to sign me up, and you know, I just rolled out of bed. It's early in the morning, and I had flip-flops on, basketball shorts, and tank top. You know, I'm sure my hair was a mess, and here I come rolling out the car, and you know, scrawny little kid. I mean, I'm not a kid, but you know. Yeah, he was like, yeah, Mikey, I can get you. I got 2 jobs starting. I can put you on Monday. You can go to La Crosse and do some demolition work, or you can go to Whitehall. And at the time, that was a 10-minute drive. And he was like, yeah, one's demolition, one's mason tending. He said, if you can count block, you can mason tend, Mikey. You can count blocks. So I'm like, okay, hell yeah, I can count some damn block. So I'm like, yeah, sign me up for that. And you know, little did I know, I was bamboozled. But yeah, love Clark. The crazy thing is, I love mason tending. I'm a very physical person, so I really like that. I like to move, so it was actually a really great fix for me. And first coming into the union, I was telling my wife that being a union member is gonna be so great for my sobriety, my recovery. I'm like, yeah, this is gonna be awesome, babe. And she kind of brought me down to earth, like, babe, you're so naive. There's so much drug use and all this stuff running rampant through there. I'm like, nah, babe. It's never gonna be like that. And then, you know, 6 months into my career as a laborer, you know, we ended up losing a member to overdose. And you know, if this program was around back then, you know, that could have saved his life, you know, instead of having to go to his funeral. So that's why I'm here.
Thank you. And Matt?
I got in construction. I'm at. I've been a laborer with Local 113 out of Milwaukee for 11 years now. I came in with Spancrete when it was still Spancrete. Worked there for 4 years. Enjoyed working with my hands always. I always loved building things when I was a kid. just putting stuff together in the garage with my friends or my dad, and it was always fascinating to me. I didn't really excel in school, so that wasn't going to be my path. And when I was introduced to laborers back in 2015, I took it and ran with it and enjoyed every minute of it. I got in with precast. Building huge structures and watching big wall panels tipped up was always fascinating to me. To see a crane pick up a 60,000 pound panel and just set it like it was nothing I loved it. I couldn't get enough of it. So I did that, and I did it well. Always was in recovery through that whole process. I found recovery in 2010 through inpatient treatment. So it's always been a part of my life to have a job with recovery. Also, I do a lot of service work in the recovery community, and I've done that as part of my own program to stay clean. It's not just about meetings. It's not just about doing the things, the motions. It's about fellowshipping afterwards and running a meeting and putting chairs away and making coffee. Something simple like that can change somebody's life, and that's where I started with it. The time came to move to the area, so I moved from the Neenah area and back into Waukesha. That was how I got hooked up with Spancrete. And along that journey, I was able to get into the AODA volunteers at Waukesha County, so I started doing that. That was working with the drug and alcohol treatment court people. I was going into the jail at the time. I was doing Huber at the time, so it was a lot of giving back to the community after my hard struggles. I was unemployable throughout my whole addiction, and once I got clean, I was able to hold a job and do the next right thing and leave a job with having another one lined up. And once this came through, I went back to Wells in September of 2024, I believe, August of 2024. Stayed with them for a year and a half about, and then this placard came in the mail for this program, and I talked to my wife about it. I was like, what do you think of this? She's like, this was literally made for you. You need to do this. Hurry up and apply, because there couldn't be a better opportunity for you to actually make a difference, because you already do it, so you already know the stuff to do. So I emailed back and talked with Tracy on the phone first, and that went well. And then I went through, like John was saying, the interview process was very lengthy. It was hard to stay focused at task at hand while this was going on in the background without putting my 2 weeks in, without really kind of letting it out. It wasn't to spite the company or anything, but it was also, I didn't want to burn bridges either. So when I told my boss when it was time to move on to this, he was 100% behind me. They've always known my recovery background. They've known I've done stuff. I used to bring in, on my sober date, I used to bring in treats for everybody on the job site because that was like a big deal to me. Hopefully with this new program, getting out there and us getting out there and being seen, we can kind of change that stigma that it does matter. Your life matters to us. That's why we're here. Like, come talk to us if you need us. We're here, like, that's what we're here for. So I am thrilled to death to get in the role that we are in right now and be able to, like John said, help as many and as far and wide as we can. We've been busy right now the last couple of weeks getting on board with treatment centers, touring the different centers around the state, getting them on board with what we're doing. Not one person that I have met has been like, oh, we don't want your guys. Like, they've all opened us with open arms and cannot wait to partner with us. So this is huge. This is going to be making a huge difference. I want to see it go nationwide, but to be the third state, that's all right. It's a start. So I'm glad for the opportunity.
And so this, you alluded just now, so I want to catch it quick. This is an initiative that was started by another region of the laborers, correct? And the international kind of adopted it.
Yes.
Is now trying to roll it out to other areas of the country. Is that correct?
It started in Massachusetts in 2018, out east, and then St. Louis picked it up. Our council members went down and heard their pitch, and that was all they needed to hear. Was we had 7 laborers lost last year to suicide, and that's too many. So they wanted to do something about it, so this was created to do that. So here we are.
Let's talk a little bit about that idea of opening up to each other. Again, lean is kind of built on the concept that laborers members are more likely to talk to another member than a counselor or a hotline. And Mikey, you talked about this in a really important way when you were sharing a little bit about yourself. Why does it matter who's on the other end of that conversation when someone needs help?
I feel like just for the, simple fact is, I mean, me personally, it's like if I'm struggling to open up to somebody, I'm not gonna go to somebody that hasn't been into, the same shoes that I've been. They haven't walked down the same road that I've, walked on. They haven't, walked barefoot in the mud, same path that I've went on. So I think it's very important for other laborers to know that we are laborers and that we've been into the same dark alleys as most of our guys. So I think it's very crucial.
And just for them not to be ashamed to ask for help. I mean, that's a big stigma out on the job sites. We all, Matt, Mikey, we all know big, tough construction workers, but it doesn't have to be like that. Everybody in life struggles, and I think that they see us more as one of their peers, like, because we've been out on the field, we've sweat out there, we've bled out there with them. So we know really what it feels like to be out there. And for us to just be able to go out there and, let them know our stories too. Like, we have been in dark places too, and we have came out of these dark places, and there's a reason why we came out. And the reason is to be able to come and help you guys, so I shouldn't be afraid to talk to another human being, if you have a problem. And hopefully when they see us out there, they'll be able to relate with us right away.
Let's talk about that a little bit more. Walk me through what it actually looks like when a member reaches out or when you're on a job site. What happens from that first contact? What is your role?
I've actually had that happen already. I had a phone call already come in as a member that was in need. He was having a bad day. I won't say what his bad day was, but it was a rough one. And I left the communication lines open. Anytime you need to call me, here's my number. This is what it is. This is what I can help you with. If you are ready and want it, let me know. And that's where we left it when we toured the job site. We had somebody come also in need right after our spiel. When I talked, we had a member come up after we were done and ask for help also with mental health. And we guided that person, gave them the resources they needed to succeed. As far as our roles are right now, we're still in process of training, so some of it is limited for what we can do yet, but once we're alive, it was a good dry run. We'll put it that way, for us to really be out there for them, and it worked. It went well on both cases, and I heard from that person later in the week. They were doing better. They were out of the woods, but they were still making the strides to get where they needed to be. So that was it's working. I see it working, and we're not even alive yet. So I feel like we're going to make an impact when we go live and everything is available. So
yeah, we were at the job site for like a half hour, and Matt already with his story was touching people, and somebody really got touched by listening to Matt's story, and it was kind of not a, I don't know, I don't want to say it was a cool thing, but it was nice to see, Matt being able to go out and have somebody be touched by his story, Mm-hmm. And that's what we all three hope to do, Hopefully we're able to touch people and help people.
And catch them at that moment of willingness, right?
Yes,
Whether
and
it's in that moment right
about.
there, planting a seed for later.
Right.
Yes, that's what it's all about, yeah.
We talked about this a little in the intro. You're peer support specialists, not clinicians. Where does your role end and a professional referral begin? How do you know when someone needs maybe more than what you can offer them on a phone call or a job site conversation?
Well, if they're suicidal, or if they're talking about harming others, I think that'd be a good example.
Are these services available to families of union members too, or just the union member themselves?
Families are included in that. Anybody under their plan. That would be spouses, children, and things like that, of that nature, yeah. They're all included. So it might not necessarily be a member. It could be their wife or their husband or kids that are struggling. We've been doing diligent work with the area adolescent mental health facilities as well, getting them on board, because it's not just our laborers that are in the field, so their kids might be having problems. So we have a couple resources ready to go for them as well that we're working on getting and establishing. So everybody will be covered.
Yeah.
Yeah, because this affects everyone,
It does.
right?
It's a family
It does.
thing. That's what the laborers, we're family. That's
Right.
how we like to see it.
Trying to break generational curses.
Yes.
What do you, the three of you, wish more construction workers understood about asking for help? What would you say to that member who's maybe listening right now, or who you talk to on a job site and takes what you talk about home with them but isn't quite ready to reach out for help?
Nobody should suffer in silence. And that's a big problem. Like, people want to just hide it because their coworker might be ragging on them or giving them the business about whatever. It's job site banter. We kind of poke at each other already.
Yeah.
It's much like high school, I've found. Like, I left high school 25 years ago, but when I got back in the trades, I got back into it because a lot of the mentalities are still that. We still have jokes about each other. We still, just to make the day go by. Our jobs are hard. So how can we make it a little lighter? We'll poke fun of each other. We'll, whatever it is. And sometimes people take that to heart. They don't have thicker skin, so it affects them differently sometimes. So we got to be careful with that. And nobody should suffer in silence. That's why we are here, because our number is going to be out there eventually. Call us if you want to talk it out. Like, I'll answer that phone 24/7. We are here for that. Like, if you need to have a vent, like, man, this guy was such an a-hole at work today. I gotta
Yeah.
talk it out, man. I've dealt with them. I get it. Like,
Right.
No.
I left a non-union company. That's why I left, because they were so yelling and screaming at you for no reason. I just didn't want to live. I didn't want to work for somebody like that anymore. So I left, and it affects people differently. So don't be afraid to reach out. That's why we're here. It's tough.
Yeah, this work can be heavy. Have you all talked yet so far in your training about how you're going to care for yourselves while you're doing it? It's a lot to take on.
I stay strong in my meetings. A good friend of mine that I've known for recovery since I got started in it, he's been clean 40 years. One of my closest friends when I was coming up in the Fox Valley area, when I was getting clean up there, still going strong, but he put it to me straight out. Gotta stay at your meetings. You gotta stay grounded. You can't, because you're in this role, now you think you're a counselor, you don't have to go to your meetings because you do it for a living. It's completely the wrong mentality to have. We have to stay. I stay at my meetings. I usually do 3 a week. And I volunteer. I volunteered last night at the Aspen Center, so I do things to let myself be free of it. I can leave it at the meeting. I can have my say, and I can leave it there. And I have 40 people around me that can, hey man, that was all right. You need anything more? Like, they get me. So stay grounded that way has been huge. And I continue, and will continue to do that for myself. I'm not sure what these guys haven't planned, but I think we all have our own ways of battling and dealing with our stuff. To leave it at that.
Yeah, staying humble, and for me, my family is huge for me. Being around family, and like Matt said, you have to stay grounded. You really got to stay grounded. You got to keep boundaries. I like to just have some alone time too, you know, just for my mind to let loose and just get into a show or, you know, something like that. You know. Yeah, I like to get out and like walk and hike and, you know, do all that kind of stuff. So play sports. I like to be a kid sometimes.
That's important. Mike?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's definitely good to be grounded. You know, I try to keep positive people in my life who are gonna, you know, uplift me, especially when I'm, you know, feeling negative or have negative thoughts. It's always good to open up and let those emotions out. My wife, she's really good at that for me, so I really appreciate her. My daughter, she keeps me humble, keeps me on my toes, and you know, probably the best part about this, one of the best parts about this is I get to, you know, wake her up for school, and you know, she's so happy to see that I'm able to take her to school, so she's, you know, daddy, and hugs me, and we get in the car and we jam out. I don't know if you guys know K-pop Demon Hunter, but it's a show on Netflix. So we got I got that playlist going. So as soon as we jump in the car, we're
K-pop.
driving down the street and, you know, singing Golden and Takedown, and so yeah, that it's really good for my soul.
Being a dad.
Yeah.
Yeah. K-pop Demon Hunter is part of the self-care.
Yeah.
Gotta have some.
No judgments though, please.
No, absolutely not, Mike. We don't judge people.
Well, as we talked about before this, I'm so excited that the laborers are leading by implementing the lean program, that you are all here. You're in the thick of it, getting ready. I know we will have you back. I can't wait for like a year from now to have you all back and talk a little bit about how things are going. What do you hope you have to talk about if we were to sit down a year or two from now about what you've accomplished, what relationships you've built with members, and where the program is at?
And just how many members we've helped, and how the word has really gotten out there. Hopefully other trades, like Matt was saying earlier, hopefully other trades will pick up on this and see how successful it is, you know. And construction sites can stop the stigma of, you know, being big, tough construction workers. We don't have problems. We ain't got to talk to nobody. You know, we can handle everything. But, you know, in life, we know that's not true. So hopefully all that will, you know, we'll be able to look back on and say that we've really been able to help a lot of people, you know. That's what I'm hoping.
Same.
Yeah, I know these guys are
Definitely.
same.
Well, John, Mikey, Matt, thank you so much for
Thank
taking
you.
the time to talk. I'm, like we said, really excited to hear more, and I know you guys are super busy. Thank you so much
Thank
for taking
you
the
for
time.
having us.
Yeah.
Thanks for having us.
This was
Appreciate
awesome.
it.
Thank
Look
you.
forward to seeing you guys again.
Yeah.
This is what it looks like when a union decides that showing up for members means showing up for all of it. If you're a Wisconsin laborer and something you've heard today hit close to home for yourself or for someone you know, reach out to the Wisconsin Laborers Health Fund. The LEAN program is there. These 3 peer support specialists are there. You don't have to figure it all out alone.